What is up, YouTube? Back on the YouTube video, and today we have a guide on how to complete the Gilded Precept Master Lost Sector. Now to find this, you want to go to your Destinations tab and then go over to Neptune up here, and then either spawn in at the Strider's Gate spawn up here, or if you've made your way through Lightfall and you have Living Harbor, whichever one, it's going to take like an equal distance. Actually, I would say Strider's is probably closer, but I'm just going to go from Living Harbor down here. But you're going to want to spawn in and then make your way over towards that side of the map, and then we'll see the flag and icon. So we're just going to make our way over here and hopefully not get blown up by any of these Vex, and make our way over here. And this is going to be the entrance towards the park. So you can see as we approach, we should get the new loading zone. There we go. And then just over here off to the right, it's going to be the Lost Sector. So just go over here. And you can kind of see the Lost Sector icon, I believe. Yeah, right here. So just look at the pyramid ship and everything with Callus, and it should be over here on the right of it. And then what you're going to want to do is drop over here. And then you can see this flag and the icon on your map right here. Now, if you don't see this icon on your map and you don't see the flag, that means what you have to do is make your way inside this ship. So we're going to work our way here. And then at a certain point, you are going to see the entrance to the Lost Sector, and it'll tell you Lost Sector discovered. So you can see we're going to make our way inside over here. Bunch of jumps and turns and everything. But after you make it this far, you're going to see Gilded Precept. And then when you run through here, you're going to see the enemies. Just kill everything in there. Kill the boss with the chest at the end, and you will unlock Legend and Master difficulty for this Lost Sector. So then all you gotta do is make your way back outside, and then that will give you the flag and the icon, so you can go ahead and start farming for exotics, weapons, or whatever it is that you want. So we're gonna go ahead and make our way back up here, and we're gonna go over the modifiers. So here's our modifiers. We're not playing on Legend, we're playing on Master. So we have shielded foes, you're going to face solar and void shields. We have master modifiers, which are extra champions, locked loadout, extra shields, limited revive, barrier, and unstoppable champions. Then we have arc threat, 25% increase to incoming arc damage, scorched earth, enemies throw grenades significantly more often. Attrition, regeneration is greatly impaired, defeating enemies may create wells of light. If you know me, you know I hate this modifier, so we're not going to have a good time. Overcharged weapons, stasis surge, 25% bonus to outgoing stasis damage, solar surge, 25% bonus to outgoing solar damage, and then overcharged glaive, 25% bonus to glaive damage. And then you can see our command power 1840, I have 1827, and we're going to get it done. Enhancement cores, uncommon, and if completed solo, legendary weapons are common, and if completed solo, exotic head armor is common. If you didn't see yesterday's video, you can see I did a Master Lost Sector, and I didn't even get an exotic, so I don't know how common it is, but there have been times where I've done these and I haven't gotten an exotic. But before we get into the loadout, I also want to highlight one more thing, which is going to be the Neptune Triumphs. So if you go over here to Neomuna, then go to the World tab right here, and then in Exploration, you're going to see there's one Triumph called Master of the Digital Frontier, which is complete any Neomuna Lost Sector on Master difficulty. Now, I have this because yesterday for the Thrillodrome, I was able to unlock it. So I completed that one, and you can see I got Thrillodrome Flawless Solo Mastery and Thrillodrome Solo Mastery yesterday. So today we're going to go for Gilded Precept Solo Flawless Mastery, and then a Gilded Precept Solo Mastery. So these are the two that I'm going to go for. Unfortunately, we can't get Hydrophonics because that's not in this season's rotation, but whenever it is, I will be sure to make a video on it. But yeah, we're going to go for these two, which is just complete the Gilded Precept Lost Sector on Master difficulty without a fire team. And then the second one is doing the same thing, but doing it solo flawlessly, which is just not dying. So we're going to go ahead and get into the loadout, and then we're going to get into the gameplay. Alright, so here's the loadout that we have put together for this. We're running Solar subclass with Golden Gun Marksman. Then we got Gambler's Dodge, Triple Jump, Knife Trick, and Healing Grenades for the abilities. For aspects, we have On Your Mark and Knock 'em Down. For fragments, we have Ember of Ashes, Ember of Char, Ember of Solace, Ember of Torches, and Ember of Eruption. Then for the weapon, I'm running Riptide. It doesn't get a damage boost because of the stasis buff, so we are using that. And it can stun unstoppable champions, as you can see here. Stasis shatter effects, so if you're lucky, you might be able to get that first stun with the first shot. But things like Choke Clip will help because basically direct hits with the top half of the magazine cause a detonation that slows targets or slows nearby targets over time. That doesn't exactly give you the stun, but if you just pretty much spam it, you should get a stun with Riptide. That's one reason I have it on. Now for the second weapon, Polar Slants, this is my go-to, pretty much the main weapon I'm going to be using. This is going to help us with the barrier shields as well as unstoppable. So this is going to be my go-to for both champion mods with one gun, and I'll explain how we can do that. So pretty much for barrier champions, with the artifact mod that we have, it's going to be, not this one, Flint Striker, Rapid Solar Weapon Precision Hits, and Rapid Solar Weapon Final Blows grant Radiant. Now why is that so important? Because if we go over here to the abilities here, that's going to give us Radiant, but also using our melee is going to give Radiant, which I'll show you that in the gameplay. But we also have things here, powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies Radiant, so that's what we're doing there, so we're going to be Radiant. And then Radiant and Restoration effects applied to you have increased duration. Now Radiant is what's going to allow us to break barrier shields, so you can see barrier champions, and it says solar radiant effects can stun them. So just by proccing Radiant, we're going to be able to break those barrier shields. So again, the main way we're going to do this is by hitting crits with Polar Slants. Now if you've never used Polar Slants, the exotic trait is the perfect fifth, and precision hits load an explosive round. So you hit 4 crits, that 5th shot is going to have an explosive loaded round, and then when you shoot it, it'll cause a little more damage. And then with the build, it's going to ignite and spread Scorch and everything like that. So again, very useful weapon to have right now, especially for this season. But I do want to note, I also have the Catalyst, which puts on Dragonfly, as you can see on the perk. So that's kind of why I have those two. And again, very useful gun, but that's how we're going to stun barrier champions, just by hitting our crits. And that's what you have to do anyway when you're using the gun, because if you don't hit crits, you're kind of not taking full advantage of the exotic trait and everything. So it's just whenever you use Polar Slants, try to hit crits. And then how we're going to stun unstoppables, you can see solar ignition effects can stun unstoppables. And when we hit crits on unstoppable champions, once you hit those 4 crits and then you hit that 5th shot, that will proc the ignition round, or whatever you want to call it, the unstoppable round, and then it will ignite the target, meaning it's going to stun it. So you're going to see that it is a little finicky sometimes, I will say that, especially with these Cabal enemies. It feels like that fuel pack they have on their back. Sometimes you hit all 4 crits and then you hit that 5th shot and they'll go stun, but then they'll still do damage for like 3 seconds and then they'll go back to being stunned, which is weird. I think it's something with the fire that kind of brings them out of being stunned but then puts them back in once it goes away. So just know that's a little finicky. If you can, try to deal with these unstoppable champions from range. Try not to let them get too close, but that is one weapon that I'm going to be using. Now for the rocket launcher, we're running Apex Predator. And it doesn't have to be Apex Predator specifically. It could be any rocket launcher. I'm just running it because it's solar. And then I have this one with Reconstruction and Explosive Light. That way when we pick up those orbs, we're going to deal a little more damage and stuff like that. So very helpful. But again, if you have a Stasis rocket launcher, that can also work. And if you don't have a Stasis or a solar rocket launcher, any rocket launcher will work. But if you want, you could try to use a Heavy Glaive, something like that. Actually, there is no exotic, or there is an exotic Heavy Glaive, but it's not that helpful. So just never mind that. I just recommend rocket launchers, and if you don't have a rocket launcher, something like Unwavering Duty is very helpful here because you can carry a lot of ammo, and then if you become Radiant, this will also help with barrier shields. So there's a lot of options here. I'm just going to run the rocket launcher for DPS, and then for the helmet, we have Celestial Nighthawk. This is the exotic helmet, and we have it with solar targeting, solar siphon, and hands-on. And I do want to note these are the harmonic targeting and harmonic siphon. So these just match your subclass. They're not exactly the go-to solar siphon mod. You can see this one costs 3 energy slots, and I don't have enough because I have hands-on. But they are harmonic mods. And just to show you what that is, in case you don't know, if I go to Void, now I have Void targeting and Void siphon. And then if I go to Strand, you can see Strand targeting, Strand siphon. So it just matches whatever subclass you have on to give you that synergy. And like I said, hands-on. Gain bonus super energy on melee kills, just in case if we need a little bit more melee, not melee, super energy. Using our melee will help us with getting some of those orbs of power. Now for the arms, we have Solar Loader and Heavy Handed, and you can see here your powered melee final blows create orbs of power. This is something I have, that way if I rely on my melee, I'm at least getting orbs and stuff like that. Then chest piece, 2 arc damage resistant mods and charged up. And then for the legs, stacks on stacks, and 2 kinetic weapon surge mods. The 2 kinetic weapon surge mods are just for DPS when using Golden Gun, because as you know, when you use Celestial Nighthawk, Golden Gun fires 1 high damage shot, and then you pair that with kinetic weapon surge because for whatever reason, Golden Gun registers as a kinetic weapon damage source, so you want to use kinetic weapon surges to increase the amount of damage. And I will say, having 2 of these on is a little overkill, to be honest with you. If you want, feel free to just throw on 1 solar weapon surge and then 1 kinetic weapon surge. That way your super does more damage, but then your polar slants and your apex predator will do damage when you pick up orbs of power. But just know that's kind of one option you have. But I'm just going to leave it with 2 kinetic weapon surge mods on. Then for the cloak, we have 2 bomber mods, and then we have a time dilation mod. Now getting into the artifact here, the first row doesn't really matter, and I'm just going to tell you straight up which ones I recommend you put on. So Kindling Trigger, if you're following this, is very useful. Blast Radius can help, and then Flint Striker and Wish into Being, and then Raise of Precision and Solo Operative. I highly recommend those. Some of these, I'm too lazy to reset my artifacts, so for example, from Whence You Came, increase ability damage to taken and scoring enemies. There's no taken or scoring enemies here, so it's useless. Heart of the Flame is useless because we're not playing with allies, so we're not going to cast our super and give anybody a Radiant because we're playing solo. And then Overload Rocket Launchers, there's no Overload champions, but I just have this generally here, so when I play, for example, Nightfalls or anything like that, I don't have to change my artifact every time. But yeah, that's pretty much everything there. If you want, just copy it and you should have no problem getting it done. But if you want something like Revitalizing Blast can also be helpful, and then maybe Argent Ordnance if that's something you want to do. But again, whatever you want, completely up to you. Make changes where you think it's necessary. Let's go ahead and get into the gameplay.